Hello, good morning. It is Zena Krogendal, your American Dreammakers host. How are you doing today? It is a wonderful day here in Arizona, and we have a fantastic guest with us this morning. Roshun Jones is going to be here live, and so I can't wait to get him on with us. But let me play the intro video and we will get started. Here we go. Hi guys, it is Zena Krogendal, your American Dreammakers host. I have a fantastic guest with us today, Roshun Jones. He is a certified high performance coach, data science expert, investor, speaker, and trainer. Oh my goodness, he is an amazing guy, has a big heart, and let's bring him on and let's get started. Hi, Roshun. Woo!
Hey, how's it going? I made it.
You made it. Oh, it's so good to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you are always on the move doing something. So really appreciate you being on here. So let's just get started. Tell us about yourself, Roshun. Tell us who you are and where you're at.
Man, that's like so I was thinking about that question. It's kind of like that question when they ask you on interviews, like tell me like one your strengths and your weaknesses. I was like who am I? Because like you said, like I do so many different things. So I try not to pigeonhole myself into like labels and this is who I am. So I'm gonna try my best to answer that. So as you said, I'm a high performance coach. Prior to that, I was a software engineer for several decades, and so I switched over from being an engineer to helping people work on their mindset, mostly men that are entrepreneurs, because I find that there's a gap in the industry where there's a lot of resources for women to go to and feel comfortable and be able to work through their past traumas and stuff like that. But men are a little different. There's not a lot of there are resources, but there's just not personal development isn't really geared towards men. So as a result of my own personal development journey, I found that wow, it's like there's this gap, and I can really help men do that. So I started as a NLP practitioner helping men work through their trauma. And then I eventually found that, okay, so once they were able to work through that, then there was a gap as far as like, well, now how do I go and like start that business? How do I go and take it to the next level? And so I went and became certified as a high performance coach. And so now I can help them introduce high performance habits into their daily practice, so that they can take their life, take their business, take their relationships to the next level. So
Awesome.
in a nutshell, that's kind of who I am. As you said, um, data scientist, real estate investor, everything under the sun.
That's fine. So tell us, what is NLT?
NLP. So
NLP.
NLP stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. So it's what one would call a pseudoscience, but it's basically the science of success. So it started way back when by a group of individuals, and what they did was they studied the habits of people that was getting success, and then they basically created a model and said, okay, so if you just follow this model, then you will achieve success as well. So there's a saying in NLP world, that success leaves clues. So if you want to do something, if you want to gain success in any area of your life, you find someone who's doing that, and then you just do what they're doing. A lot of people say fake it till you make it, but you just basically do what they're doing, and then you should achieve success as well.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Hi, Robert. I just want to say hi to Robert here. He has joined us this morning. He says
Hey,
he's
Robert.
feeling like he's in the dust here. Well, you know what? You are in the right place, Robert. Thank you so much for being here and supporting us. Um, yeah, sometimes it is. It can be. So Ro is definitely a great guy to talk to. So for sure, Robert, if you'd like to reach out, he's certainly very good at what he does. And I wanted to say, I believe Yessie is on here as well. She had said earlier, "Woohoo, Ro!"
Hey,
Hear her saying that and jumping up and down.
she's my coach.
Yeah. Well, everybody needs a coach, as Coach
Everyone
Peter
needs a
says.
coach.
So, that is for sure. So, yes, you guys, thank you so much for being on here with us this morning. And if you are listening, please go ahead and share this out. We want to get Roshun's message out to the world because he's got a great one. And as you can see, he's got some skill sets here, some
A
great
couple.
skill sets. So you decided that men really needed to have a little more help. And
Absolutely.
so in this journey of discovering this, what what along the way really had that light bulb go off? I know you said you knew that men didn't quite have the resource, but did something happen to you personally, or somebody in your family, or somebody you knew personally that really um, uh, was the catalyst to it?
Yeah, I would say so. I've always been so. I grew up as an anxious kid, so I dealt with anxiety underlying and not knowing what it really was. And so as I became an adult, I used work and school as coping mechanisms to deal with the anxiety. And so I was able to kind of leverage it to get into some pretty high positions. But I was working all the time. I was stressing myself out. I was working full time, going to school full time, trying to achieve these higher order degrees, because unconsciously the story was, well, once I get that degree, once I get that really good job, once I do this, once I do that, then I will have worth in life. And so that was the pattern that was playing out at an unconscious level. And we'll talk here briefly about what I mean by unconsciously. So about 80 to 90% of what we do on a day-to-day basis is all unconscious habits. These are thoughts that we have. We have like millions of thoughts throughout the day that we're not consciously aware of. And so you can imagine if someone's walking around all day unconsciously telling themselves that they're not worthy, then the results that they get in life are going to be that of someone who's not worthy. And so, as I was going through my life, and then I was able to have the opportunity to learn more about how the mind works, I was able to untap, like, or to uncover the patterns that were playing out in my life, and I can see how they correlated to the results that I was getting. So I was like, wow, it's like this is really fascinating. Right? It's like, so I was able to go from being anxious and depressed and not getting the things that I wanted to understanding more about how the mind works, and then I can hack my life basically. So I said, well, if I can do that for myself, then why can't I just help? I can help other people do the same thing and help them get the results that they want in their life. So that's how my coaching came about, was from my own personal experience, being able to walk myself through getting to where I wanted, and then also helping other people do the same thing.
That's awesome. That so you were basically your first client.
Yes, I was.
Great.
We're usually
And
we're
very
all usually our own first client, good or bad.
well, and you were successful at it, so that's fantastic. So we're glad that you were able to, help yourself, get to a place that you can help others. And so Robert here has said that he has a rough time with anxiety, and what can you do? What can you give to someone like Robert who has experienced anxiety, and many of us do.
Yeah,
I believe at some point in our life we do at some point. So what were the tools that you learned? Maybe you can give us a little tidbit here.
absolutely. So disclaimer, not a medical professional. So this is, I just want to just give advice just for my own personal opinion and that of people that I've helped um, live a more, um, I guess, anxiety-free life. So anxiety is basically, in a nutshell, thinking about the future. So when people are anxious, they're usually having thoughts of the future. So being more mindful or being more present, I'm sure many of you have heard of mindful meditation. So mindful meditation helps you kind of be in the now. And so the more that you can focus on practices that allow you to be present. For instance, there was someone that I was working with that was having a panic attack at that moment. And so there's a technique called a grounding technique, where you basically like, so as you're in the moment, you basically find five things that you can see, five things that you can hear, five things that you can touch, right? So that allows you to ground yourself in the moment, so they can say, well, I'm touching this seat right now. I'm sitting here in this thing. I can hear cars going. I can smell, the smells of flowers, whatever the case may be. That takes you out of the association into a future thought and brings you back into the present. And so that's one way that you can break yourself, like if you're having like an onset like attack, or you're being really anxious about something. And more generally, it's about understanding what's unconsciously playing out, as far as what's keeping an individual thinking about these future thoughts all the time. If it's worry about, like, how am I going to pay the bills, and what school am I going to go to, and am I going to get a good grade, and all that stuff. Understanding what the meaning is behind those thoughts, right? If I don't get an A, for instance, I had a huge amount of anxiety around when I went to graduate school, that I wasn't going to pass. So I got really, really, really worked up. So then I had to ask myself, well, what does it mean? Like, what does it mean if I don't pass? And so for me, unconsciously, it meant that, again, people they were gonna look at me as though I didn't have worth. People were gonna, like, look down on me, right? So that's something that I help individuals do, is find out what story they're telling themselves, and then change that story.
Hmm. That's great. Those are great, very practical things, and I like that you say that you basically need to be present in the moment.
Absolutely.
So a lot of our anxieties are, from what I'm hearing, is that when we get ourselves worked up about a future that hasn't even occurred yet.
Hasn't even heard. Yeah. Yeah. Everything comes down to a story that you're telling yourself.
Hmm.
And what we say, like, what's the narrative? What's the narrative that you're telling yourself? So depression, for instance, is a story about something that happened in the past. And so we play through these stories about what happened in the past, which leads to having depressive thoughts, which has a physiological effect of feeling depressed. When we're thinking about something in the future that may or may not happen, some threat that may or may not happen, it has a physiological effect, and then our heart rate goes up, and then we call that anxiety. So everything comes down to the thoughts that we're having.
Wow, powerful, very
Yeah.
powerful. And then you mentioned earlier about the subconscious
Mhm.
mind. So these are the things you gave some good tips on the conscious mind of how we can basically talk ourselves down and calm down.
Right.
But there's something that's going on in the subconscious mind that sometimes we're not aware, just as you notated. So how do you become more aware of your subconscious mind, and what do you do for that?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I was just having a conversation yesterday about this same thing, and so what I told this individual was, once you once as people, we recognize that our unconscious mind is what drives like a majority of our existence, like our experience in life. Then if we say, hey, I know that how I feel physically is a result of my thought, and if I can control my thoughts, then I can control how I feel, and then I can control the results that I get in life. So the question is also, what can we do, um, to better our unconscious thoughts? And it goes back again to, when we have an unconscious thought, it then becomes conscious, and then so we can say, okay, this is the story that I'm telling myself. Like, if I don't get this grade, or if I don't get this job, or if I don't do this, then this will happen. Our brains are very associative. And so once we're consciously aware of that story, then we can challenge it. We can say, well, so this is what I'm telling myself. Well, if I get a bad grade, for instance, then that means that I'm not gonna this. Well, have there been other people that have gotten bad grades that have gone on to be successful? Are there other people that haven't done this, that have gone on to get the things that I want? So we can consciously challenge the stories that we're telling ourselves, but then also working with a coach like myself to also help you at an unconscious level identify what those patterns are and change them. So in addition to um, NLP and high performance coaching, I'm also a master hypnotherapist. So there's different techniques that I can work with the clients with in order to identify those unconscious patterns and then change them at an unconscious level.
That's amazing. Agape Love says she still remembers. I still remember what I got from your program, Ro. You can control your emotions by changing the meaning of the events that happen in your life. I love
Yes.
it. I practice it and I enjoy it.
Yes.
Oh, thank you for sharing that for
Yes. Yeah.
sure.
I love GA.
That's awesome so much. And then Robert, looking for a cute IT girl who doesn't know how to cook and cook for her. Okay, Robert. I'm not sure if Roke is that kind of coach, but
I've been known to do some miracles.
that is very interesting. You know about the subconscious mind and how powerful it really can be, and how it, I guess, in essence, puts us into autopilot and we don't even know it.
No. Yeah, it's akin to 800 pound gorilla. And so there's a saying that we have. So what do you give an 800 pound gorilla?
What?
Anything that it wants,
Mm,
right?
right.
So when you think about it in terms of, for instance, goal setting. So when January 1st comes around, you know the whole thing, right? It's like, new year, new me, fit fam, like everyone sets these goals to go out and get in shape, and they're finally going to do it. And then a couple few weeks in, 80% of the people actually drop off.
Mm.
So like I have a thing where I don't I start to trail off going to the gym for like the first couple weeks, because every time you go, you can't get on the machine because everyone is there. But after about the second or third week, then the gym opens back up again, and now there's more equipment available. And so why is that? Is because unconsciously there's programs that are playing in people's minds that tell them that they can't be fit, that they're not going to lose weight, that this is like people don't want to step outside their comfort zone, and they try to go too fast. They say, well, I'm going to go from sitting on the couch all winter to like going to the gym 5 days a week. And then so what happens is, so our brains are wired to avoid pain, and it's also very efficient. And so there's not a program in there that has adapted to going from sitting on the couch all winter to going to the gym 5 days a week. And so but people go out there, they say, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to willpower my way through going to the gym. And so they go to the gym a couple weeks. They're like, man, I'm sore. This sucks. Why am I doing this? And then because the mind is telling them like, hey, like this is uncomfortable. I'm not optimized for this. You don't have enough calories. You don't like what are you doing? It's freaking out. And then so what it does is it starts to change the physiological of the body. So it's like starts to make them feel not good. And then they go, well, man, like what do I want to do? I want to feel good. So what makes me feel good? Go back to the couch. So that's just happening unconsciously. And so you can push through it, you can will yourself through it, but it's about also getting your 800 pound gorilla on board and saying, all right, so like help me help you. And so again, through different unconscious techniques, meditation, hypnotherapy, and stuff like that, we can get people going in the right direction.
Hmm. That's yeah, that's great. Those are great tools, great um, awareness that you are giving us, because you're right. Sometimes there's a beast inside of us that we have no idea. That's, I guess, it sabotages our efforts. Is what you're saying.
That's the perfect term for it is it's sabotage. It's self-sabotage.
Hmm. Yeah, and I guess many of us do that, and we're not even aware that that's what's going on.
Yeah.
So as you're saying these things, what's going through my mind is, I've come across people, and I have to say, I admit that even I, at one point in time, may have felt this way, in that, like, oh, why does this always happen to me? If I had no luck, if I didn't have bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. Like, you just feel like you're constantly, working against, and no matter what your efforts are, it gets defeated. But really, in reality, it's not necessarily that the world is against you, is that perhaps it might be you against yourself.
So there's a saying, perception is projection, and what that means is whatever is unconscious inside of you, we project that out onto the world. And so if there's people out in your world that you perceive as holding you back or being an obstacle or getting in your way, they're showing up for the purpose that they were meant to show up as. So and so what that means is, um, I'm trying to find a good example of it. So people will show up. For instance, if someone is telling you, hey Zena, remember the last time you did that thing that didn't work out so well, right? That's really a reflection of the thoughts that you have, because there are people out there, and you probably know some of them. You can tell them whatever you want. You can tell them that they got no legs, and they're gonna run a world record in the 500-yard dash. Like, they just have a mindset that, like, you cannot tell them that they're not going to do something, right? Because they've resolved whatever they needed to resolve around, like, receiving negative feedback like that. Like, that thought is no longer something that they hang on to. But people that haven't resolved it at an unconscious level, they will project this energy out into the world, so people will reflect that back to them, and that will hold people back.
Hmm.
And so we use not only our thoughts to, like, hold ourselves back, we also, like, give that a power to other people, so that they can remind us of how, like, we need to be held back as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense in that it's what you're projecting, is what you're saying. What you're projecting on the subconscious level, and people are just mirrors, and how we respond determines on if we've moved on. So if we have triggers, like, for instance, I know over the years I have found that there's people that you meet, and you instantly have a connection. Like, you instantly feel like you were long lost sisters, or
Right.
long lost brother, or whatever that is. And then there's other people who, they're really, they're great people, they're very successful, they do well, but for whatever reason, your spirit and their spirit just does not mesh.
Yeah.
And then they say something, and it triggers you that particular time. And I know I've had to kind of be self-reflective and say, what was going on? Why did I respond that way? Because that was not a what you would call a normal response to just a simple comment, but
Right.
yet inside it flared up something. And then
It's
then you have
that
to choose to be reactionary, or pause to respond.
that's an opportunity. It's always an opportunity to thank that person. Like, if someone triggers you, thank them, because they help bring to your conscious awareness something that's an opportunity to work on at an unconscious level. So in anytime someone, like, for instance, it always comes up in, like, ex relationships, right? That person showed up exactly how they were supposed to show up in your world to help you resolve what was unconscious. So as much as people want to go, forget her, forget him, right? It's like, thank them, because they actually help you grow into a better person.
And that is a great perspective to have. It's like God places them in your life to be that mirror
Right.
to you, right? Because let's face it, most of us don't want to look that deep in the mirror of ourselves and look that many layers deep.
Yeah.
But yet, when you're forced to face somebody, whether it's a coworker or a friend, or whoever it is that's in your path, you have to look at them at that moment. You're
Yep.
forced to, because they're in your space.
Yep.
So that's beautiful.
They are you. That thing about your coworker that you hate, that's what you hate about yourself. Like the thing that you hate in other people, that's the thing that you hate in yourself.
Yeah, yeah, a beautiful insight for sure. And I'll just a funny quick story. I used to with my kids. Of course, this is pretty typical when you have kids, but my daughter especially, because I feel like she's my mini me 2.0. But there were certain things about her that she would say and do that would just annoy me, and I'm like, why does she do that? That's so crazy. And I used to blame it on her dad. I used to be like, oh, it's because of her father, that's why. And then one day I sat down and I was like, wait a minute, that's me. That she picked up that from me, and I didn't even realize it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, not only did she pick up the good stuff, but she also picked up the not so good stuff. I'm like, why couldn't she have just left that alone and been the better? But anyway, it was definitely a eye popping thing, for sure. And I really appreciate you telling us and building awareness for us that people in our lives, really, we should not feel any uh, strong emotions because they trigger something in us, but really we should be thanking them because they're helping us to heal from that and to be aware. And now once we're aware, what do we do?
Yep.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you hit it. You hit it head on.
Well, you're a good coach.
But where do I put my pay link where I don't see the?
We'll square up a little later, Ro. No, I think that's fantastic for sure, because I think it's real easy to kind of go through life and float, and then feel like you're a victim of this life. Sometimes it's just easier to have that pity party, um, and people may come around and say, oh, poor you, whatever. um, but I would think that at some point, it would get old. I know it did for me,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
has for me. And so I'm constantly searching on how to, get that stuff out of me. Because now that I've become more aware that there's a subconscious mind that's self-sabotaging, my efforts, I'm like, I'm ready to go to the next level.
Yeah.
So, let's do this. Let's get rid of it. So for those of you out there who, are feeling that as well, absolutely get a hold of Ro, because he obviously knows what he's talking about and has been really studying up. And he had himself as his first client. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty cool. So I mean,
you are pretty cool. So, as we are sitting here and kind of chatting up, like as if I wish we kind of really were having coffee together. I'll just kind of pretend here. Um, you and I met in Newport Beach at Master of the Stage at Tim
yeah.
Story and Coach Burt. And so you also were a student of Master of the Stage at
Mhm.
one point, correct?
Yeah, I was just prior to the cohort that you went through. I was in the previous cohort.
That's great. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience that you had there?
Yeah. So this like, and I want to, I didn't say, so I want to thank you for having me on your show today, because it's given me the opportunity to work on my speaking skills, and also in preparation for getting my message out to the people that need to hear it, as you said. So earlier I said that, so when I grew up, I was a really, 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 really shy kid, like super, super duper shy kid. And so much so that, so if you and I, Zena, if we were walking down the sidewalk and you were walking towards me, I would cross the street. Like I was like that, like deathly afraid to interact with people. And so I was able to like have friends and stuff like that, but I was still just this really like introverted, shy kid. And so as I became an adult, I found that it really hindered my ability to advance in my career, because as you know, like as you move up, you have to do meetings, you have to, you have to facilitate, meetings and stuff like that, give presentations, and that just like deathly like scared me. So it wasn't until like over the last like couple years where I said, you know what, I'm really gonna put emphasis on building out my public speaking skills. My mom, she has a thing that she would always tell me as a kid to speak up. It's still a thing that we has a joke that we have to this day, where she's always telling me to speak up, speak up, speak up, project your voice, because I was the mumbler. I was I talked under my breath. And so when the opportunity for Master the Stage came along, I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. I have an event that's coming up that I did with Yessie, and I really want to develop this my public speaking skills so that I can, one, break out of that story. Remember, we talked about the narrative, the story that I'll tell myself. Um, the narrative of I'm a shy person, I'm a quiet person. So Master the Stage was my ability to challenge that narrative that I was telling myself. And so as a result of it, here I am. Like, I think that just compared to when I started versus who I am today, there's been a ton of development work that has gone on, that now I feel more competent, more comfortable being able to go out and spread my message, because that's what I'm here to do. That's my God-given purpose, is to help people. And I can't deny my calling, because I'm going, oh, God, but I'm scared. I'm afraid. So that's where I am. That's where I'm at now, and I love being able to go back and help other people work through whatever was coming up for them, so that they can get their message out there as well.
That's I love that you are giving back as well. So you have a very much a servant's heart,
Thank
and I really love that about you, because uh, not everybody is in that place and ready to go out and give, but you are constantly learning and growing, and you're busy, but yet you find time to give back to others
you. Yeah,
with no expectation in return. And I think that's a beautiful thing, and really a testament to your spirit and where you're at. So I really thank you for that, because you, Yessie, and you know Brittany, Rebecca, Krista, you guys were all fabulous in helping that program move along as
yeah,
smoothly as it did, and so made it a wonderful experience. So
yeah.
really,
Joseph,
really
don't,
grateful.
don't forget Joseph,
Oh yes,
team
and
coach.
how can I forget Joseph? Yes,
I got you, bro. Don't worry about
thank you, Ro. Thank you, Ro. um, but it was, definitely a great experience, and yes, highly recommend, for people, as not only are we working on trying to figure out the subconscious mind and not self-sabotaging our efforts, that I think definitely doing things to continually improve your skills,
it.
and I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that, because that's not an easy share either, to tell people where you've been, and even hearing that over and over again, speak up, project,
Yeah,
sometimes you're like, okay, I
yeah,
am.
exactly. There's a joke, because Yessie,
Yes.
she's her volume. I know she's listening right now. Is a little. It's up here, right? And so we joke, because I'm like, man, like, you're loud. Like, to me, people that talk normal is loud. And so as I've been going through trainings and stuff like that, there's this concept of a habitual voice. I don't know if you've heard this term before. So our habitual voice is the voice that we've learned over pretty much over the course of our life. So if you're a shy, introverted person, you will habitually, speak a little lower and a little softer. And so when you encounter people that are louder, you're like, wow, why are you so loud? But what I learned was that, like, when I talk to you, like if I talk to you like this, you would probably think, wow, he's not very confident. But if you project your voice, then people go, wow, like he knows what he's talking about. and he's not boring, right? And so as a purpose of wanting to impact people, influence people, I really had to learn how to use my voice differently. Because again, like it's like that's what I'm here to do, and I can't get so caught up in my mind around like whether I feel comfortable or not. And that's really across the board, like with everything, right? It's like a lot of the things that we're meant to do in life, you know, right? So God will say, "Hey, Zena, I got a calling for you.
Yeah.
You may not be ready, may be a little uncomfortable, but I got you." And then that's when we step out in faith.
Mm, that's beautiful. Love that, Ro. Love that for sure. Oh, at Master Stage in Newport Beach with Tim Story. Yeah, so it shows up agape love, which I love that. I love that. That's what uh
I'm gonna have to Google agape. Is that like a? Is that a? It's not
un-
agape.
yeah, agape. Agape is better than agave, but because it's everlasting, it's unconditional love. I believe it's a Greek word
Okay.
for unconditional love, that we all, want that's God's love for us is agape. So
Okay.
yeah. Oh, thank you, Robert. We are so glad you're here with us this morning. So thank you for the encouragement and the comments. Definitely appreciate that. So
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, so it's quite a journey that you've been on, uh, from what it sounds, and how amazing that you've had. I can see why you wear so many hats. You've had a lot of interest and a lot of experience, but I I know some people have different viewpoints of, do you display those hats, or do you just pick one, or do you know,
Yeah. I work with entrepreneurs, and I break my rules that I tell clients, to focus on one thing at a time. And ironically, recently I've adopted this whole idea of ADD in entrepreneurship. I think a lot of entrepreneurs probably experience some level of ADD, and so I'm really good at like focusing on something in short bursts, and then I get bored, and then I want to go move on and do something else. So it's been really helpful because I have techniques as far as high performance techniques where you break things into time blocks. So that has really helped me, um, get more things done and still not it be like this. Oh, like I've been on this project for 4 days. Like I can break it up into chunks, and it's more manageable. But I am inherently a life learner. I love to learn. I was a little jealous that I saw all the graduation like pictures coming up this past June, and I was like, man, I want to graduate from something. Uh, so that's when I had finished up my high performance certification course, but I didn't post it. I let everyone else have the glory. But I love learning. I just love to learn things.
that's great. So that's interesting that you say that you wanted to graduate from something. You didn't graduate from something prior to your certification? Kindergarten, high school, you know, did you do junior high graduation?
I did, yeah. So I've done junior high, high school, college, graduate school.
Oh,
Uh,
you graduated from a bunch of stuff.
yeah, tons of things. Yes, I love to graduate. I love to.
You
So
were,
and see, Zena's being the coach right now. I love this because she helped me understand that like I love to level up. I love to go from this level to the next level, and so I'm continually leveling up in all areas of my life.
I like that. I like that you say that. You wanted to level up, so you wanted another graduation under your belt. That sounds awesome. And in that you want others to be able to have that same experience. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's people in my circle. They know like there's no being content. If you're around me, you know I'm going to push you to level up,
Yeah.
because we all have so much potential in us, and we barely scratch the surface of what we can actually do. And so like I'm always encouraging people to step out of their comfort zone and level up, go to the next level, because like what's like just on the other side of fear is you getting to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. Very, very cool. I am so glad that you uh, are on this interview because you're sharing a lot of great nuggets of wisdom, not only wisdom, but you also are giving some great practical things to be able to apply too. So this is just, I know this is just the tip of the iceberg. So anybody who may feel like they could really use Roshun's services, I've got his website scrolling on the bottom there.
Yes.
And so we'll post that into the comments. Maybe Robert or somebody watching, maybe one of you can post his website into the comments so that it shows for everybody there as well. That would be fantastic. And again, for sure, make sure you share this out because this is great stuff. This is great stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, so as you are leveling up, talking about leveling up. So now that you graduated, got your certification, what is the next level up for you right now?
Oh, what is so definitely want to build out my coaching business, help as many people as I possibly can. Definitely want I do have a heart for helping men overcome past traumas, negative thoughts, things that are just holding them back at an unconscious level, and see the potential that they have inside of them, so that they can be better husbands, better fathers, better CEOs, better everything, across the board. So really putting some effort into helping those individuals level up. Not to say that I wouldn't work with women, but that's definitely where my immediate focus is on helping those individual men, entrepreneurs, go to the next level, and then also helping coaches develop their coaching business. I know how it is to start a coaching business. I've been at this for 4 years or so now, understanding what the struggle is around getting clients, creating your coaching program, and just actually taking it from something that is a thought to something that's actually helping pay the bills. And then just continually just working on my own personal development. As I've shared today, I'm not perfect by any means, but what I have done is found the joy in realizing how imperfect I am and the opportunities that I get to have in learning more about myself and learning more about how I can, hack myself, hack my mind, so that I can like be operating at a really really high level.
Mm, great. So I am curious, are you working on a book? Like this should all be put into a book, I feel like.
Yes, yes, I am working on a book, and I will admit that it's something that I started probably 2 months ago. Was really again really I was really like energized around doing it, and then I got busy, and then it fell to the wayside. So I am working on a book. I am going to put the energy towards it. Just need to get stuff off my plate so I can focus on it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I can't wait for it to happen. So you're gonna make it happen, Ro.
Yes,
You've spoken it out
I
to the
spoke it
world.
out there. I said something, man. I have no out now.
Now there's no out. It's a done deal. Everybody's gonna be asking for it. Where's
I
that
know.
book, Ro?
Yes, please email me at least once a week or so.
Waiting for that book.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I'll put the link for pre-sales down in the comments. That'll
Yeah,
motivate.
you can. Absolutely. We can get the pre-sales. When you get a link, absolutely, for sure. So because I think that's a great way, for sure to get the message out is to do the pre-sales and to and even to offer, the coaching along with it. Why
Yep.
not go ahead and join the mastermind with Ro as he's pre-launching the book.
I
you
love
know?
that. I love that.
So, but yeah, we're just like the idea machine today. Let's
I
just say.
know. This is great. I need to be writing this down.
See, it's being recorded, so
Okay.
you can rewatch it.
Okay.
Yeah. But and that's why these interviews are fun too. Is that we get to really hear about who you are, what you're doing, and I think just exchanging the energies to helps to kind of sometimes spark some ideas like, oh, what about this, kind of thing. So I think you're fantastic, Ro. You have amazing, amazing future ahead of you.
Thank you.
And is there any last things before we close it up? Any last things you want to leave us with?
Last thing. So just want to reiterate about challenging yourself. A lot of, like I said, people they have stories that they tell themselves. So I'll leave you with this story. So I do want to brag a little bit about this. So a week ago today, so just last weekend, I completed a bike ride from Seattle to Portland, Washington, or Portland, Oregon. 206 miles on my bicycle. And I can tell you that it was all about mindset. It was all about, it was hot. I didn't want to do it. I didn't train as much as I should have trained. I was miserable. But the thing that got me through it was me being able to change my mindset and change the story that I was telling myself. Because in those types of situations, every thought, every demon, every negative thing that you possibly can think of, it comes up. I'm telling myself that I'm not as thin as the other guys. I'm not as fit as the other guys. It's hot, like all these things, and just being able to control my mindset, control the thoughts that I'm telling myself, and through the grace of God, is what helped me be successful at completing such a huge event. And so I say that because a lot of people won't even start. Like a lot of people won't even take the step towards taking on an event like that because they're telling themselves that they're overweight, or they're too short, or they're too this or too that, or not enough of this or not enough of that. Challenge yourself, like put yourself in challenging situations, because that's where you grow. There's, what is it, the you know um how swords are created. They put them in under the waterfalls, and forged by fire and all that stuff. Like you got to get uncomfortable in life. Like the things that you want aren't going to come by being comfortable. I can absolutely guarantee you that. You got to get uncomfortable. You got to challenge yourself. You got to continually put yourself in challenging situations so that you can grow.
Hmm.
That's my spiel.
That's amazing. And you did 206 miles on that bike?
206. I was telling
Oh,
people it was 204, but it was 206.
oh my gosh. And you didn't die. That's amazing.
I was gonna send you a message and say, hey, I know that I agreed to do this interview today, but I may or may not be here. So
I'm glad you took the step of faith and scheduled it after your 206-mile bike ride. And you're still moving around. That's the other miracle.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Way to go.
yeah.
That
And this is really a wheelchair, but yeah, I'm still
with the donut. Are you sitting on a donut hole? Because you're
like
sore?
I can I don't know where it's at. I do have it doesn't have a hole in it, but it's definitely a donut that
Because
I
I'm just
can.
thinking, sitting on that bike for that long. Holy smokes. That's
It's definitely a new experience this week. I'll tell you that.
yeah, yeah. Well, be kind to yourself this week.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm still carb loading from the event, so that's
Okay,
I,
okay.
I should probably like curtail that at some point here. But
After this week, after this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, really, it's a story of like you can overcome anything. Like everyone out there, like I know that there's people out there right now that they're going through something. they're going through some life event, they're going through some relationship event, they're going through some there's that thing that they want to do, like they really want to do it. Like that's like, man, if they did that thing, like their life would change. But then there's that little thought that tells them, oh man, remember last time you did that? Like, that didn't work out or whatever. Like you can overcome, like nothing is permanent. Like everything is impermanent. Like things can change just like that. So just continue to challenge yourself, continue to go out there and put yourself in uncomfortable positions. Like even yoga, like yoga is an uncomfortable position for me, right? But it's good for me. So
So I think this is Yessie. It says Facebook user, but I'm pretty positive this is Yessie. But asking, what's both of your next challenge?
oh,
Oh,
so yeah. So my next physical challenge is a half marathon in October that I'm training for, and so that's going to require discipline. It's going to require me to get out there like after today and go run that I hate doing, um, and I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it because I know it's going to make me a better person. So that's me.
that so yeah, I'm sitting here as I'm listening to you. Why would you sign up for something that you hate doing? But what you're telling me is that you want to have the mindset that you can do things that you don't even like to do. So you don't even
Absolutely,
have to enjoy it
absolutely.
to accomplish it.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, in entrepreneurship, I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs on here, and new, existing. There's a lot of things that you got to do that you don't like to do. There's a ton of things that I have to do that I don't like to do, and so that's developing that mindset of doing the mundane. I love that whole concept of doing the mundane, and also doing the things that you don't like to do, because that consistency, everything, most like success is dependent on you being consistent. Like the more consistent you are, like intelligence and where you came from and all that stuff, consistency trumps all of that stuff. Because if you could just, well, doing the right things consistently, I should say. Because if you can do that consistently, then you will get to where you want to get to.
That's sound advice right there. The consistency. So it's like the consistency is where you're going to get results for sure. Like
Yeah,
you can go to the gym, but if
yeah,
you're not consistent, you're not going to continue to build on what you've already did the day before, right? So if you
exactly.
only go once a year, it's just not going to be the
You know,
same.
Zena, and I thought the same thing. I went to the gym for a whole week. I was eating good and stuff like that. I was like, why didn't I lose weight?
Yeah,
I was so disappointed.
in 1 week.
Yeah, I was like, I've been going for a week every now and then.
Well, it's hard to not compare yourself when you see other people posting that they really did lose like 30 pounds in 1 week.
Yeah, yeah,
So when you see that, you're like, why did that happen to me?
exactly. What are they doing that I'm not doing?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so and that again, to go back to modeling success is, I'm curious, like what are they doing? Like what is it that they're doing to get the success?
yeah.
Which is often not shown. They're not showing that they're you know going to the gym, like doing 5 a days and only drinking celery and water. I don't know what their strategy is,
Yeah.
but if I can find out what they're doing to help them become successful and it aligns with my values, then I'm just going to do that.
Yeah. That's that's great. You are a great example for us to absolutely emulate. And I love hearing that you are challenging yourself on the physical side right
Yes,
now. That's where you're focusing right now, um, because the mind, body, and spirit, it truly is very important to have. You can't just have only one and not the others. And so I'm really glad that you are doing that. Right now, for me, my challenge may not be so physical like that. I will not be signing up for a marathon or triathlon anytime soon or getting on a 206-mile bike ride. But that's not to say that might never happen. But for me, I have to do smaller chunks. Like I can't go from zero to suddenly, I know everybody's motivated differently, but for me, I've noticed I have to do small increments and
Right.
then gradually get there. And for me right now, I just have to learn how to say no to things so that I have time to say yes to the things that I'm really feeling like it's my divine purpose. And so,
Yeah.
one of the challenges that I've taken the step is I'm actually going to be retiring from dental hygiene, which I've been for 27 years now. And I've been working still 2 days a week, but at the end of the year, I won't be doing that anymore. And it's bittersweet. And I know it sounds simple, like, well, just let go of that job, but it's when you've been doing it for as long as you've been doing it, it's like you said, you kind of get comfortable for one,
Yeah.
and two, there's patients that I've developed relationships with, and so I'll definitely miss them. But at the same time, in order to level up, like you say, I needed to level up. I've got to get both feet in the game. I
Yeah.
can't just pedal with one leg. I
Yeah.
got to have both to pedal that bike,
Yeah.
that metaphorical bike for me, not a real bike
Absolutely.
for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
So something came up for me, and this may or may not resonate with you. So when someone is making a transition, such as you are, the unconscious question of, well, who will I be if I'm not a dental hygienist? And and so that's kind of the unconscious question that's being answered or asked, and that's the joy now, is answering that question,
yeah, that is.
because it's so tied to identity.
Mhm.
When we say, hey, hi, my name is so and so, like, what is it that you do? Oh, I'm a right. It's so tied to our identity. So then when we make these life changes, like I was a software engineer, and then so I had to change the identity of being a software engineer to doing something else. But we have to realize that what we do is not who we are, right?
Love that.
You know,
What we
you're
do is not who we are.
Yeah,
Mm. Such deep insight today, Ro. You are a deep thinker, and I love that, and I love that you share that, and absolutely reflects that you are a lifetime learner.
yeah,
I enjoy learning as well, and definitely a nerd, when it comes to that. And but I think there's always something to learn. The
always.
world is always changing too, and we're constantly making discoveries. So thank you for being a thought leader, a trailblazer, a bike rider, a
Yeah,
marathon runner. Thank
literally,
you for all of that.
literally blazing trails.
Literally, literally, yes. And so really appreciate you coming on here again, Ro, and sharing who you are
Thank
and
you.
sharing what you do. You are absolutely making an impact in the world, and I cannot wait to have you on again, 6 months, a year from now, and then see where things are at again, because you got nowhere but up to go. So
Yeah,
just,
look it up.
yeah, just keep leveling up. So I am going to say goodbye for now. But everyone, get a hold of Roshun Jones. He is the man. He's not a myth anymore. He is
Nope.
man and the legend, and he can help you level up as well. And if you wanted to, you can sign up for this half marathon with him as well.
Yes,
Marathon with him as well. So
absolutely. The more the merrier.
yeah, the more support, the better too, right?
They,
So
they can run in front of me, and they can draft, and
something like that. Yeah, teamwork makes the dream work. So yeah. All right, guys. Well, I'll say goodbye. Thank you again. Have a wonderful day, and we will chat soon.
thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you, everyone, for being on here on American Dream Makers. I truly believe that the American dream belongs to all of us. And not only can you achieve it, but you can go beyond. And Roshun Jones has absolutely demonstrated that you can go beyond. He is an American dream maker. Please be sure to share his message out. Even if you're watching this on the replay, get his message out. There's so many people who could really benefit from this, and also get a hold of him. So have a wonderful, blessed day, you guys. And we will see you next time on American Dream Makers.